Today we have supplies to do some dot painting on wooden boxes. So the supplies needed for today will be a wooden box, a larger foam brush, and whatever base coat you're going to use to paint your box. You can use the foam brushes for that. And then once you've painted the base, optional, you can choose some stencils, and then you might need some tape to tape your stencil in place, and then you'll use one of the small foam brushes to lightly dab paint on. And of course you'll need your dot paints so that you can finish your project. Optional Q-tips come in very handy in case you have to take up one of your dots that got too big, and also wet wipes are handy for cleaning up messes or for wiping off your stencils. So when you're painting your box, we have some bigger foam brushes that you can use for doing that so that it happens fairly quickly. But basically, these bottles are nice because they just have like a little squeeze, so you can just like squeeze your paint on. You don't even need to put it in a little container on the side. And then you can take one of these foam brushes and quickly paint the top of your box. So if you want to, you can paint the top of your box with a light coating of gel stain. So we have these special folk art dots paint that we can use to do some dot art on top of our boxes. And of course you can just freehand whatever you like, or for those that might need a little bit of help, there is a few stencils, various stencils. We have some smaller foam brushes for using on your, for just dabbing on your stencils if you want to use a stencil. Is you can take your design there, and what you can do is just get a very light colored paint and use like a dabber, and then just lightly dab this on to create your pattern. Just a very light brush. Then take a piece of paper towel and just kind of wipe off the paint on the stencil. There will be some wet wipes around that after you're finished using your stencil, you can take a wet wipe and wipe off the stencil so that if someone else wants to use it, and also just so that it won't dry on the stencil. There is a bit of learning curve to this, so you may want to get a scrap piece of paper and try it out first. But I would space your dots out quite a bit, and don't squeeze the bottle because you'll end up with dots that run into each other. And that's really all there is to it. Just add dots, and with the magic of video, it's done. So that's all there is to it. So I just wanted to point out that I did paint the front of this using these special dot paints, but they're a little on the expensive side, I think. So when I was at the dollar store, I just wanted to point out that I did find these. You know, for $4 you get a whole bunch of colors, and I did a little test on the inside of my lid, and although they dried flat, whereas the dots paint has a little bit of a raised edge to them. So this one right here hasn't dried yet, but I also found a version that said puffy paints. So I'm guessing that it will dry more 3D. And then I found these also at the dollar store that have tips on them for doing dots. And so there's my sample. Just wanted to let you can find some cheaper versions if you want to do something like this with your students.